Hey guys, welcome to Pistons Talk Podcast. Hope you guys are having a great Friday night. I am joined by the host of Locked On Pistons, Khahil. I'm glad we could finally get you on the podcast. I feel like I've been trying to get you on for a year, but man, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, I'm I'm a busy person. I'm sorry about it. It is what it is. The podcast over in Locked On takes up a lot of time, so I'm glad that I was finally able to come on and hope to have some fun today.
Yeah, man, it's all good. It's just like I did like a roundtable podcast, and I invited like a bunch of content creators, and I got so much hate comments like, "Why didn't you invite Koo?" I'm like, "It's the weekend. I didn't want to bother him." It's just like it's all good, but man, I'm so
I feel it.
happy. I'm so happy I was able to get you on. Anytime I do have a guest, I let them plug and promote themselves. I know you do a lot with Locked On and other things, but tell the people where they can find your work.
Yeah, you can find me obviously over on Locked On Pistons, whatever podcast platform you listen to any of your podcasts on. You can also find it obviously over on YouTube. You guys can subscribe to my Substack, where during the season we'll have daily content. It'll be written content, film breakdowns. Summer has been a little bit slow, I won't lie, but during the season you guys can go back to last year. I had a lot of stuff every single day for you guys. So subscribe over there. It's at khahil.substack.com or the Piston Kudos. Or if you want to join us for live watch parties during the season, the Playback Room, you can find us over on Playback at Watch Pistons. And then I'm sure I'll probably have some other things I'll tweet about. You can follow me on Twitter at Khahil to keep up with anything else I end up doing.
So I have everything you mentioned, link in the description, the Playback Room,
Appreciate you.
the Substack, yeah, everything. I don't think I found your YouTube channel because I know you do like breakdowns. I couldn't find that, but everything else I was able to link in the description below if you guys want to go watch Koo, support Koo, because he's one of the best Detroit Pistons content creators and podcasters in the space that we do have. This is going to be a fun show, man. There's a lot to talk about, even though it is off season. Got to get creative in August, I always say.
Oh, trust me.
I know we were talking about it on your podcast yesterday, and definitely check that out if you guys haven't already. But I want to know, like, what are your expectations for this upcoming season with the Detroit Pistons?
So my expectations for the team is kind of like I've kind of aligned myself with what I believe Trajan Langdon's expectations for the season are, and he's talked a lot about being patient and just wanting answers, and you don't know about these guys yet before you can do X, before you can do this, that, whatever. So to me, my read on how Trajan's looking at this season has been just, if they get a lot of wins, great. If it maybe stay the same as last year, then it is what it is. If they take a step back, it is what it is, because he's kind of looking at it I just want answers about whether this core fits together. Do I need to move on from somebody? Do we extend this guy? He just kind of wants answers, and however he gets them, he'll be cool with this. So that's kind of where I've reserved myself to where I just hope they get answers, no injuries, not another year. Like, it's crazy because, like, we're in year 4 of Ivy and Duran, and it feels like that we haven't really gotten much of a sample size with Cade, Ivy, and Duran, let alone Cade, Ivy, Asar, Duran. So just no injuries, get a real answer, or get a real sample size on what those guys can do. And my expectation is I hope they make a decision on that by the deadline, that whatever their answers they're getting, it's an answer that they can feel comfortable about by the deadline heading into the offseason. So whether it's, they feel good about Ivy and Duran, they want to extend them in the next offseason, they don't do it this year, do that. If it's okay, we feel like we need something else, then maybe move off of somebody. Just get some answers about how you feel about this young core. So I'm just hoping no injuries, you get a good sample size. As far as win-loss, I kind of mentioned this a little bit yesterday. I think that I got 3 teams in the East that I just put above the Pistons right now. I'd put Cleveland, New York, and then Orlando. I'd have as the top 3 teams in the East. And I have the Pistons and the Knicks, or the Pistons and the Hawks, my goodness, fighting for that 4th seed in the Eastern Conference. If they can get between 4 and 5, I think that's a good year. Even if they end up at 6, but have a very good first-round series or even win a first-round series, I think that's fine too. But I think at the very bare minimum, it's no play-in. Just the play-in should not be an option. And then a very good first-round series that at least goes 7 games, and maybe a playoff series win. So that's where I'm at with this team going to next year as of right now.
It's so funny. I've asked everyone this question, and every answer has been the same. I had someone up here saying if they don't win 50 plus games, it's a failure. And it kind of like took me back. I was like, man, we had a 14 win season a couple seasons ago, and people are coming up here and saying like, if they don't win 50 games, the season is considered a failure. It kind of shows you like how fast you can get back on track in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Pistons had a really successful season this past year, and I understand why some fans could just look right at the roster and be like, well, they had a good year last year, and now you're just putting Jay and Ivy into the fold, and you get another year of these guys improving. So why wouldn't they increase in win-loss? So, and that certainly could happen. Maybe they get more wins than last year. Maybe they do get to the fourth seed. Heck, maybe even they challenge for the third seed. I mean, all that's possible. It's just hard to it's hard to predict development. Like we don't know how much better these guys are going to look. It's hard to predict that kind of thing. And I've said this over and over on the podcast as well, is that every season every season is different. Every season plays out differently. Different things make things go different ways. So I've mentioned on the podcast that the Pistons were a great defensive team after January last year, but maybe things, just because they were great last year after January defensively doesn't mean they're starting off from April, 15th, wherever the season ended, and now they're just going like that. No, every year is a brand new year, and you have different challenges that come up. So kind of just got to wait and see what happens. You have to really, really hope on development, and that's what this team is really banking on. And when you do that, it's just hard for one person to predict that when you're really just banking on your season being internal development.
Oh, 100%. It's honestly just kind of crazy when you kind of just look at how far they came like last season, and then we have conversations about like, top 50 wins. I told you yesterday I want a playoff series win. Like, I think we all have kind of like different, I guess, expectations for this team. But man, I'm excited. I think we're 54 days away until the season starts. So I mean,
I can't wait, man.
It's coming really fast.
Even training camp, just training camp, preseason, something. We need like
Yeah.
I need some hope over here, man.
I mean, maybe I'll go down the rabbit hole. I saw some of the Pistons. They're out in San Diego, California, playing pickup right now. Maybe I'll post some of those videos and suck them back in with some summer workout videos like I do every year. I still remember posting that Duran video. People getting pissed off. Like, I'm not falling for this again. I'm just not.
Shooting, yeah.
I wanted to kind of transition into the next topic, and I've talked about this quite a bit. I don't know if you've kind of dove into kind of just the power forward depth on this team. Are you concerned with the lack of power forward depth outside of Tobias Harris starting?
Yeah, going into the offseason, it was my biggest point of improvement. I thought they absolutely needed to get, whether it was a backup four or even their starting four of the future. I think whenever the Pistons make their big move or whenever they make their trade, I think it should be for that forward position. That's really where they're lacking. They need to get their forward of the future eventually. And two, I know earlier, knock on wood, I said that you want great health. And this past year, I know that, Ivy went down January, but you did have some pretty good health look outside of Ivy. Cade didn't go down. Asar didn't go down when you came back. Duran didn't go down. Tobias, like these guys, Malik, THJ, like all of these guys were really healthy, majority of your rotation. So I say that to bring up, like, if Tobias, knock on wood, gets dinged up, misses a game here and there, I just don't know where they really go for that. I know Asar filled in some games this past year when Tobias happened to miss a game or two. I just don't view Asar as a full-time four, and obviously you don't need him to be a full-time four for him to fill in, whatever. I get that. But I think what they're doing, and actually the other thing that should be considered is that Tobias is getting older, and him taking a step back, maybe not a large step back, but him just, slowly declining isn't out of the question for guys who get 33 plus years old. Not saying it's going to happen, but I feel like that's kind of something you have to consider in the offseason. So I do agree. I think the forward position's their biggest weakness right now. However, I've mentioned this, that I think the reason why Trajan went to the offseason and didn't really do anything at the forward position was because I think they want to get Ron a lot more minutes, and they want Asar to be able to play with Ron some minutes. And the best way to do that is have them just both split the 4 minutes. So you give Ausar and Ron 3 minutes, and they get both 4 minutes. So now you can fit a way to get them both Ron 25 plus minutes and Ausar 30 minutes. You can play, I don't know, Ausar 18 at the 3, and then Ron 14 at the 3, and then 10 for Duncan or whatever. And then at the backup 4 position, you split like 10-10 or something like that, basically, to where now you both guys are able to get the minutes that they need. So that's the reason I believe they didn't address the backup 4, and I guess that makes sense. But eventually they are going to need to get their 4 of the future, and just some depth there in case like anything happens. Because right now they really are just at the bare minimum at that position.
I was really worried about it, and I kind of like go back to last season when Tobias had that calf strain, and it's like we couldn't rebound the basketball when he wasn't out on the floor, and I was kind of concerned in that way. So I was going into the season like, oh, maybe they'll go for PJ Washington, but that didn't happen. Maybe they do a Trey Lyles reunion. That really hasn't happened yet, but just on a roster spot, you never know. But I did mention what you brought up of having Ausar at the 4 and Ron at the 4, and I got the pitchforks. I did it on, I believe, the pin down with Blake and Wes over there. I got the pitchforks because they're like, no way, you can't have those guys out there that can't shoot. But I mean, I could see those guys being your 3 and 4 of the future. What do you think about that?
I think that you want to talk about pitchforks? I'll get the pitchforks out. Bring them to the podcast. I think of Ron and Ausar as their 2 and 3 of the future. I don't think either of them are 4s. So I think that like 3 years down the line, that will be the Pistons' wings of the future. There will be the 2 and 3. But in the short term, I don't see what's wrong with having them play. I mean, let me take that back. I do understand where that could come into concern with them both being backup 4s, because I don't think either of them are really. Ron did put up like 10 pounds of muscle though, so maybe he's getting ready to do it. Full time, no, I don't think they're full time 4s, but yeah, I definitely think. I mean, I wrote about this over on my Substack. I was hearing earlier in the offseason that there's some in the front office that really want to see minutes of Ron and Ausar, and are hoping that Ron develops enough of a shot to where they can get those minutes together on the floor and to see how that works. They did get a very small sample size of it last year. The net rating is great, but again, it's very small sample size where you don't really know, was it garbage time when a lot of those minutes came in? How much of it was actually in the course of a game? So I think they want to see some of those minutes, and I think that will be the way they find it out.
Yeah, that's interesting. Ron is a 2. I kind of think when you look at his archetype, he's more of like a 2-3 build. And Ausar is more of like a 3-4 build. So I could see that. You never really know what happens with contract extensions, but I won't say number 23's name because I don't want to start a rally because I know how they are. But I mean, yeah, that's interesting, man. I just kind of think they're a little bit, I wouldn't say like weak at that position, but I am concerned that, bigger teams could definitely take advantage of them this year.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to. I mean, that's why I wanted them to go after Santi Aldama. I think he would have been really good for them. But I think they are comfortable. It seems like they're comfortable going into the season with this 4 room and just having Ron and Ausar split the minutes. But 100%, the next move, whether it's a signing or trade, has to be for that 4 position. Like, they have to get that figured out. Because, again, Tobias is getting older. And, by the way, he's on a 1-year contract now. Like, there's only 1 year left. It's not like he's here forever. So they got to figure something out, whether it's at the deadline this year or immediately after this season.
I'm hoping Tobias takes that Al Horford role and he's just your backup power forward off the bench.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
And maybe they can go after someone. I keep seeing people saying go after Laurie. Man, that contract's way too big.
I don't think I feel like he's a stylistic fit, but you are committing a lot to him to do it. And then I think that in order for Utah to move off of him, you might have to give up, value that maybe you would rather not give up value for. I don't hate the fit. I actually think the fit's good. It's just the contract plus with how much you would have to actually give up for him is up in the air.
Yeah, I mean, he's going crazy over and at like 40 points in 20 minutes today. I'm like, bro, what the hell, man? Like, if Utah does trade him, they probably will get a hefty return because Danny Ainge is the GM.
Right.
So I know we talked about Malik Beasley on your podcast yesterday, but there was some news actually reported by Mark Stein And I'll read a quote real quick for you guys. It says, sources say that Beasley will ultimately be seeking a deal north of the veterans minimum and would figure to command that. So I want to ask you this, Koo. The Pistons are allowed to pay him around $7 million. Um, do you think that they should offer him that $7 million contract and for him to be the last roster spot on this team?
I have brought up my concerns with bringing Malik back, and it's not about Malik himself. It's not about him as a player. Having him in the locker room is, he was great in the locker room. The teammates love him. He loves the team, like all that stuff. And he's a good fit on the floor, obviously. My only concern with bringing Malik back, and I mentioned this yesterday when we talked about this, is that you signed Duncan with Duncan believing that he was basically going to fill the Malik role. And then you signed Karras believing he was going to play, I'm sure, like 20 plus minutes, whatever. And then you bring Ivy back, who's taken up a lot of the minutes that Malik played last year. Again, you put all of that together, a lot of guys taking up a ton of minutes. So if you then bring Malik back, because right now they have a 9-man rotation. You bring Malik back, you have a 10-man rotation of a lot of guys, Ivy, Karras, Duncan, and Malik, that need minutes around the same positions. They sound like they want to get Jay and Ivy a lot of backup point guard minutes. Well, if you bring Malik back, that's basically done because now you got to move Karras to gain those backup point guard minutes, or he's not going to really get any minutes then. So then your rotation would look like Karras taking up the backup point guard minutes. That's all of his minutes. And then you would split Malik and Duncan at the 2. And then Duncan, I feel like my only concern is one of the things that Trajan talked about last year is that the locker room had no drama. It had no complaints. Everyone knew what their role was, accepted what their role was happy in their role, and just wanted to thrive in their role. And that was one of the main reasons why the locker room was so great, and they had a great season. And I agree with that. So my only concern is if you do bring Malik back, does that raise the potential problem of maybe a veteran that signed here believing that they were going to get X amount of minutes, we're in November, December, and it's like, okay, like if I knew I was only going to be playing 18 minutes a game, like I probably would have just went this place or would have went that place. And does that start to ruffle some feathers? Do they start to, is it not as close to the locker room? Like that's my only concern. However, I say all that to say, yeah, I would throw the $7 million at. Like I say all that to say just because, you got a last roster spot. Who else are you going to get that's better than Malik for $7 million? That's
Right.
just a great value contract. So yes, I would offer him the contract. And then if that were to become a problem, if something like that were to happen, even if it doesn't become a problem, honestly, at the deadline, you have Malik, you have Karras, you have Duncan Robinson, you have these mid-level contracts on short-term contracts. You have a lot of tradable stuff that you can do now. So if at the deadline, Trajan's like, okay, I want to make my move. You don't have to trade Stu like they would have had to do last year to match contracts. You don't have to trade Tobias like you would have had to do last year to match contracts. Now you could maybe throw Duncan and Karras into a deal with a pick or whatever. And now you have Malik on the floor, on the roster, and he can just come in and fill whoever you trade, whatever. So I don't feel like it's as big of a home run automatic as some people are making out to be. I do think that part I mentioned earlier should be considered or at least thought about, but it's not enough of a big deal to where I would say, oh yeah, you shouldn't sign him. Like definitely throw him the 1 year, $7 million deal. He takes it. Then you just kind of figure that out along the way. I just think that should be brought up as something that could come up down the line.
Yeah. Devine, you're crazy, man. Oh man. I'm not going to call him the nickname you gave Duncan Robinson, but he wanted to know, do you think that Duncan Robinson would crash out if he brought Malik back?
No, I don't think Duncan would crash out, but I do think it's possible that veterans, would be like, I don't think any of the vets they brought in are maybe actually, I don't know. I don't think any of them would like crash out in the locker room. But I think maybe they wouldn't be as happy or it wouldn't be as enthusiastic with their role if they did get their minutes cut, whatever. But like I said, I would still offer them the contract and be like, we'll deal with it later then.
Yeah, same here. I like, it's honest. It would be a good problem to have that many like great shooters on your roster. And obviously it's a coaching thing. Like we could look at rotations and kind of guess what JB may do because when you start like getting into small forward minutes with Duncan, then it kind of takes away from Ron. And obviously you want Ron to be in the rotation because he was a big piece of helping the second unit push the pace. And then it's like, maybe there's some nights Duncan just doesn't play and Malik plays, or maybe you just ride the hot hand. I mean, I feel like it's such a great problem to have, because if you had Duncan Robinson and Malik Beasley on your team, that's a whole lot of firepower. And that's a whole lot of 3-point shooting that I don't think the Pistons have had. Shoot, man. Probably. I don't think they've had 2 lethal 3-point shooters like that in my lifetime.
I can't think of it.
No, I mean, I'm sure someone in the comment section that's older than me will probably just drop
Maybe Wayne. Did they have Wayne Ellington with Luke? Was Luke on the team still when they had Wayne?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe that, but they don't get it up as the same type of volume as these guys do.
Yeah, no, not at all. Wayne Ellington was like Blake Griffin's favorite target.
Yeah,
every curl or just
was crazy.
Bro, he'd be averaging freaking 25 a game with Wayne Ellington on the floor. It was insane, man. I actually saw him not too long ago walking to Birmingham, and I was really surprised. Yeah, dude. I bumped into Ronnie Magruder last year, which apparently he still has a house here. Reggie Jackson was this year a couple of weeks ago, which someone texted me what's Reggie doing here? Apparently he still lives here. It's kind of crazy.
I've heard that a lot of the athletes and coaches, I know SVG still has a house here. I've heard that a lot of the coaches and players, that once they move here, a lot of them like it here, especially obviously up in the rich areas. They love it there, and they keep their house, and a lot of them stay here. So I'm not shocked to hear that.
Yeah, I would go on lunch breaks at Woodward Sports, and you would kind of just see athletes down there. I remember when Jared Goff got to town and he had 10 security guards around him in Birmingham because he thought it was Detroit. But I mean, that's another story for another day, man. Crazy, man. I've never seen that many security guards in Birmingham.
There's no need for that. There's no need for that type of security in Birmingham, bro. It's not that deep.
That was his first year when he got traded. I think he just heard stories about Michigan and Detroit, and he was I got to bring bodyguards with me.
Ridiculous.
This should be a fun question because I feel like we're going to have different answers. Which player do you think is going to make the biggest jump this upcoming season?
Asar Thompson. I think he's going to be a top 50 player this year. I think he's going to be fantastic. I think his defense for a full year will be one of the best in the entire league now. I think his impact will be felt even more so now that he will be able to play 30 minutes a game for the full year. And I think that his offense will improve to a point where they can trust him now with the ball in his hands and let him be a secondary playmaker and let him be someone who runs some weak side action and maybe split up some of the ball handling responsibilities amongst him, Ivy, and Cade. So I think Asar is going to have a really, really good year. And I think he's going to break out this year. I think Amen had his breakout last year. I think Asar will have his this year.
I can't say I'm really surprised at that. And I think a lot of people nationally are really riding the Asar Thompson train. I don't know how many Zach Lowe podcasts I've listened to where Asar Thompson
he's loved him. He's been talking about him nonstop.
Yeah, or KOC. It's kind of crazy just with the Asar hype, but I get it. The type of season that he had with no training camp, and he conditioned himself on the fly. And the defense went from kind of middle of the pack to top 10 when he was out there. So I'm going to be really interested to see if they let him play point Asar, because I thought last year when JB experimented with that, I loved it, man. I love the transition buckets because they just couldn't stay in front of him whatsoever.
Yeah, the point guard Asar game against OKC and the point guard Asar game against Philly was some of the most fun I've had watching all year. He's just an instant paint touch. His handle has to improve, but you can't stay in front of him. And he's such a good processor, such a good playmaker that once he does get to the paint, he's able to make the read quickly. I think he's going to have a tremendous season.
Yeah, I think I would have the same answer. I think my 1B, I think I told you yesterday, it's Ron Holland. I just kind of believe in the jump shot. I think his processing got a lot better in the summer league. And you touched on it yesterday. He's so mature for a second year player. You don't see a lot of second year players tell you, hey, I'm watching film on Cade. You don't really see that too often. To me, I think he's just scratching the surface. I think he can have a really good sophomore campaign.
Yeah, I had Ron number 2 on my list of guys to break out this year. I think Ron, if he can shoot anywhere close to how he was in summer league, if his jump shots improved at all, I think that's going to be huge for him. But even last year as a rookie, he was one of the best finishers as a rookie in the league. Like, he was a tremendous finisher, great touch with either hand within 5 feet of the rim. I think they want to give him some more usage off the bench. I think he'll start to get a little bit more, leeway to be that scorer off the bench. I really, really like what Ron's doing. I think he's going to be. My only pushback is that he is young, so like he's really young. So
Yeah.
maybe it doesn't happen this year, is because I think it could happen this year, but I don't want to put that expectation on him because he's such a raw prospect to where I could definitely see and understand that maybe it takes till year 3 for him to really explode out the gates. But I could see it happening this year. He's that like I'm really high on Ron as well.
Yeah, some of the layup packages that he had in his rookie season, like
With
I would
either
have
hand.
I'd have to rewind it and said no way that went in. Like no way that went in. Like the Milwaukee game where I think he scored like 20 something points, man. He was just in his bag, like hitting threes, getting to the rim, like it's
That game
crazy.
in the second half of the season against the Pelicans, I think he had like 30 points in that game and like 15 and a quarter. Like, he was going crazy in that game, especially the first half. His finishing with either hand is just incredible.
Yeah, it's that's why I was so high on him and like the draft process. Like I never understood why people had him like 10. I was just like, I know the G League Ignite was a rough watch, you guys. I know they lost just as much as the Pistons did, but I mean, him and Matas were like really high on my board from what I remember doing, like pre-draft stuff.
I remember I didn't even I don't think I did any kind of scouting on Ron pre-draft because I didn't hear his name brought up at all. Like, I still remember being at the pre-draft room when they called him because after they draft him, they get him up on a phone call and they interview him and have everyone there like kind of do the reporting, whatever. And I remember them asking like, "Hey, did you work out with the Pistons at all?" He's like, "Absolutely not." And then they were like, "Were you expecting to go to Detroit?" He's like, "No, I'm really shocked right now." So like, he had no idea that he was coming to Detroit. And even Trajan came out and said when he came in after drafting was like, "Yeah, we didn't have much, we weren't really expecting him to be here. So we just didn't, we just really didn't do a lot of pre-draft interviews with him." So I didn't hear nothing about it beforehand, so I just didn't even scout him. I didn't have a video for him pre-draft. That's probably a mistake by me, but that's like how it just didn't seem like he was even an option. So, but I'm happy they got him. I really like Ron. Can you hear me? Am I still here or did Anthony freeze? Is it just me? Oh, it is just me. What's up, everybody? I guess I'll take over the podcast from here. I'll answer some questions. How about that? Any questions? I can see the comments. So any questions you guys have, just go ahead and throw some questions. I'll hold it down. I'll hold it down until Anthony gets back. Let's see if there's any questions already asked. I'm gonna let me let him know. Holding it down until you get back. All right. Yeah, I see. I'll try my best to hold it down for him. All right. So Pistons fans ask, do you feel the Pistons will add more emotion to the offense for Jay and Ivy? How will needing to do that for Duncan Robinson make it easier and harder for the Pistons to do? Unlock non-shooters. So I do think there'll be more movement offense. I think Duncan is a better movement player than even Malik was. Malik, when he would get top locked and come around for DHOs, he's kind of just spotting up. He kind of just wants to get to the three. So if they top lock him, it kind of, they kind of threw a wrench at the offense. Duncan just keeps running. Duncan just keeps going. If you top lock, he's back cutting and then he's rotating around to the other side of the floor, run a DHO on the weak side. Like, he just keeps on moving. And I think that will be great for the Pistons. The fact that they have someone who will be open, someone with more size, better finisher around the basket that Duncan is, for some backdoor cuts with a guy like Jalen Duren, I think that would be great for the Pistons offense. Duncan's also a bit of an underrated playmaker as well in DHOs and in those situations. So I do think we'll see even more of that this year for Duncan. And as far as like with Ivy and the offense, I have a few clips I wanted to break down on my PC right now from like earlier in the year. Cade had like 3 or 4 movement threes earlier in the year because they let Ivy run the show, and then Cade would come running around a pin down and take a 3, or come off a DHO and hit a 3. Like there was a lot of times where earlier in the year Cade actually did get to do some off-ball action. So I think that's something they'll try to sprinkle into where Cade doesn't have to be at the top of the floor, facing a set defense every single time, that he is instead allowed to, have some off-ball movement, maybe even just stay in a corner and catch and shoot some possessions. So I think that's something that, could change offensively for the Pistons next year. Another question. What do you think Stu's future on the team is? I think Stu is going to be here for a long time. Last year I was a little bit murky on his future because he was the only tradable contract with money on it that you could match. So if the Pistons wanted to make a trade, he was really going to have to be in any trade just because he was the only one that had any kind of salary matching with it. But now that they are starting to get some of those mid-level contracts, I don't think they have to consider using him in a trade. And I think Stu, as long as they don't have to include him in a deal for like a superstar, I think he'll be here for a very long time. Anthony's back.
Man, I told you before we went on, like I might lose the internet because T-Mobile's always on their bullshit, dog.
You're good.
I don't even care if that's like a future sponsorship. Like fuck T-Mobile. Straight up, man. Like honestly, every week. Yeah, I do need new Wi-Fi. They're trying to strong arm me. They're trying to strong arm me to pay $70 a month.
I feel it.
I don't even remember what we're talking about. I think we're talking about just how good Ron is, and it might take a year, but I do agree with you on that.
Right.
So I have one more topic. Don't know what you were talking about, but
I was just answering questions from the chat.
All right. Cool. This should be a fun one. Might be a little bit of pessimistic on my end, but what's your biggest concern with this team this year?
I would say my biggest, again, this is going to get the pitchforks out. My biggest concern with the team is that they bank too much on internal development with their set forward this year. That's my biggest concern because they didn't really do anything this offseason. I know they brought in Karras and Duncan, but that's kind of like, I wouldn't say those are like big moves at all. Like those are kind of just like neutral moves. They're banking everything. They're banking any kind of step forward next year coming from all the young guys, whether it's, Kay taking another jump towards MVP, or Duran taking a huge leap defensively, or Asar learning this, how to contribute even more offensively, or Ivy becoming the scorer that everyone wants him to be. Like all of their eggs are in the basket of, if we're going to be better next year, it's only going to be because our young guys took a step forward. And I know that happened this past year. And obviously it worked out for them. My concern is that I just don't know. And I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm just saying my biggest concern is that, because you just don't see very often like teams have like this linear development, just every year after year, every single young guy takes steps forward. Sometimes it's one, sometimes it's two guys. Maybe some guy takes a step back and then takes a step forward the next year. So as far as like win-loss and like actually making a jump this year and winning a playoff series, my biggest concern is that maybe they put too much on the plate of only the young guys being the reason why they take a step forward.
That's a good one. I haven't kind of thought of it that way. Mine was a little bit more like team oriented. The two I had were turnovers and fouling, because I think those were two things last year that, like, Cade has 2 fouls early on. Duran has 2 fouls early on. I think those are the two where I'm most concerned, because I still feel like they're going to turn the ball over. Like, I don't think they're just going to be absolved from turnovers. Hopefully it's not 19-20 a game like they were averaging like really early on in the season. But I don't know, man. There's so many things with this team that I am concerned. I'm concerned with size as well, especially in the front court where, you go up against like a 7-footer. Like if you got Cat and Mitchell Robinson one night, like that's something that I think that will definitely be a challenge for them.
Yeah, I think their size has improved. And like I kind of mentioned this yesterday on the podcast with you. Like their size is good at certain positions, and then it's just not, where you'd like it to be at other positions. Like they got bigger from Karras or Dennis to Karras. They got bigger from Malik to Duncan. You're going to have more minutes of Asar, Ron. You have a big point guard in Cade. So like you have size like in the backcourt now, and you have some decent size at the 3 position as well. It's like the four is yes. Josh just commented like the guys who guard Giannis, you just have nobody basically. Like I know nobody can guard Giannis anyways, but like your best bet at guarding Giannis is just put your 5 on them, and it's just not they don't. That's not a recipe for success. So the Pistons, and again, I'll throw another guy out there, a guy like Julius Randle. They don't have like a guy that guards those like bigger forwards. Now you can try to put Stu on them, but then who's guarding the 5? Like it's they don't have like a bigger 4, especially outside Tobias. I know Tobias did the best job he possibly could of guarding Cat in the playoffs, but I think that kind of speaks to where the Pistons are at positionally sized, is that they felt like Tobias was their best option for Karl-Anthony Towns. Like, so yeah, I definitely think their size at the 4 position, especially, is pretty weak right now.
Yeah, I mean, I know Stu played 4 last year under Monty, but kind of being a backup 5, I think is more of his natural fit. And I mean, he did his best. I mean, I still feel if he was healthy in that Knicks series, they'd probably win. I don't know about you, but I mean, not saying he's a Giannis stopper, but I always felt like he did a pretty good job of guarding Giannis until he threw him to the ground and then just kind of lost his cool. But outside of that, man, like he's done a pretty good job of just being a switchable defender.
Yeah, no, Stu was an incredible switch defender. It's just, again, like I said, so like if you put, usually what they did, I think I saw it even last year, like what they would do is put Stu on Giannis, and then you'd put Tobias on Brook, and Brook is not Cat. Brook is much bigger, taller, longer, like he's stronger. He's going to be physical at the glass. He's going to get boards. Like it's tough to do that when you don't have, especially when you go up against a team with another big guy next to him. It's kind of the same thing. Like if you put Stu on Julius Randle, then you have Tobias on Rudy Gobert, and Rudy Gobert won't post fade you to death, but he will get offensive rebounds. So it's just like, that's the kind of the problem they run into when they do that, because they just don't have another option for, unless they wanted to try to go to Stu during minutes, which we just didn't really get a lot of this past year for, I think, good reason. Offensively, it's just not very good. So yeah, I think that goes back to your question about the power forward position. They need to get some depth there eventually.
Yeah, I don't know if it's Trajan is playing the waiting game. Maybe someone gets waived from camp that they're not expecting. But I always feel like he's so meticulous and just patient with everything, to the point where I think it actually annoys the fan base how patient this man is.
Yeah, I said this like a few podcasts ago. I was like, some people are probably liking the fact that he's so patient. I can already see that there's some fans that may be like, we're tired of patience. How long are we going to have to hear about patience? So like, but that's like his favorite thing. That's his favorite word. He constantly mentions he's patient. So we'll see if it pays off.
I don't know. This fan base has been getting told patience since like the COVID season. I don't know how much longer they're going to stay patient.
I was in 5th grade.
Oh, man, yeah. I did get a question from actually a subscriber of yours, and he wanted me to ask you this question. So this is from Ari. So shout out to you, Ari. He said, I was wondering if you guys could talk about the defense matchups with other playoff teams. And one thing in particular, Duncan Robinson, do you think he can buy into Detroit's defense under JB Bickerstaff?
So with Duncan, I'll say he played for Eric Spoelstra. It's not like he's coming over from playing for like a rebuilding team. If he had struggles defensively with Eric Spoelstra, I don't think it's just a matter of play for a better defensive coach and all of a sudden he'll be a good defender. He played for Spoelstra. If Spo couldn't get great defense out of him or good defense out of him, I don't know if JB can work that magic. What you hope is that, and I do think Duncan gives effort. He's just not a good defender. So I think that probably will rear its head in the playoffs. I don't think the Pistons are like they're not, I wouldn't call them a contender. Like, I don't think they're contending for Eastern Conference Finals this year. I don't think they're contending for the finals or anything. So I don't think it's going to come up as in a big way to where it's like that pressing of a problem for Duncan. But like even in this first round series against the Knicks, like you saw the problem with like THJ and Malik on the floor. Like the net rating with those two on the floor together was horrible because they were just so bad defensively. So like, could it come up in the playoffs? 100%. I don't know if it's going to be a big enough issue to where we should really, I don't want to say care, but like think it's going to be like the reason why they win or lose in the playoffs. But I think outside of that, they do have good matchups defensively to go to in the playoffs. Like they have a big point guard in Cade, who is one of the better rim protectors as a guard. Then you got Asar. You got another year of Ron. You theoretically could put a lineup out there that no one is smaller than 6'6". Like you could put a lineup in the playoffs of Cade, Ron, Asar, Tobias, Stu. Like, and you could run that as a defensive lineup, and that's pretty good. So, like, I think they have options to go to if they need to go play more defense. They have options to go to. I'm not too concerned about the versatility in which they have defensively come playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, even in that event, they could hide Duncan Robinson too if he's really that bad of a defender. I don't know if he's going to be giving up charges like Tim Hardaway Jr. did. I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean, at least with THJ, you could get a charge, it seemed like, every other game, and you get a possession that way. But I mean, that was just kind of the THJ experience. Like, he might go nuclear one night, or he might give you like 6 points and fans crash out over it. I think Duncan's a little bit more consistent as a scorer, but like I haven't really thought about like him being kind of just like picked on defensively, because he's probably going to be a bench player and just kind of play with like a 6-man role. But I feel like fans are just like, we're already making the playoff. Like we're already projecting conversations like 6 months down the line, and kind of shows you like how everything is just, we talked about it earlier, how like people's expectations have just like kind of like skyrocketed.
Right. No, yeah. I mean, I understand it too. You have a really good year after all the years they've had struggling. You have a good year with a lot of young guys that you expect to get better. I understand why fans are expecting a big year.
So I want to end the podcast with a trivia question. I wanted to see if you can get this.
All right.
Okay. Who is the last Detroit Piston to sign a one-day contract to retire a Piston?
All right. So I low-key think I know the answer. But so the answer I have in my head is not one of the stars. Like the answer I have in my head is one of their role players from like 2010. I don't think Chauncey signed a 1-year contract. I think he was already here. He had already signed a year contract. He played his final year here. Ben, I know, played his final year here. He came back. Rashid, I don't think came back to retire. Rip might have signed a contract to retire, but I don't think so. I think he retired with the Bulls.
It was a 1-day contract, not a 1-year contract.
Yeah, I'm saying I think these guys signed 1 years.
Okay.
Tayshaun, I don't think he signed back, because I don't think he ended on good terms with the Pistons when he retired.
No.
My answer, is it Max Seal?
It is Jason Max Seal.
So, yes. I swear to God, I remember him signing with I remember getting the news update when I was a kid that he signed with the Pistons. I thought it was him. The only other person I thought maybe it could have been was Rip when he retired. I didn't know if he signed a 1-day to come back and retire, but I didn't think so.
Yeah, Jason Maxiel. I was listening to an old podcast of Vinny Goodwill, and I was just like, man, I don't even remember that happening. I think I was just so tuned out. Like after they traded Chauncey, my fandom kind of died a little bit. It really did, man. Like I still remember seeing that AI trade in high school and crashing out.
Bro, I remember the Chauncey trade has a very. I remember exactly when it happened. I was in 4th grade, and I remember getting off the bus, running home, and my stepdad at the time, he's standing outside the house as I'm walking down the hallway. He screams down, "Chauncey was traded." I immediately spent the rest of the time running home crying. I saw the news update on the TV. 8-year-old, 9-year-old Koo was crying in front of the TV, thinking it was wrong. I remember it very vividly.
Yeah, and they still sell Allen Iverson jerseys in the team shop, by the way.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Look, listen. I'll say this is my hot take. Iverson didn't play that well, but he looked icy in a Pistons uniform. Like the gear and the jersey looked fire. I'm not gonna lie. He looked cold in the jersey. He just didn't play that great, but he looked cold.
Yeah, Dwayne, we were 4-0 before that trade. Yeah, it literally made no sense. Like if you're gonna make that type of trade, do it before the season. But yeah. My fandom died a little bit, and then we kind of had like the 2010s with like Greg Monroe and then like Andre Drummond getting hyped up for like Brandon Knight. I was like, maybe he'll be the next, great Kentucky guard. And then you get posterized by DeAndre Jordan. He never retired.
That was my core fandom of Pistons. I grew up during the 2010s team. That's when I started watching every single game. So yeah, that's how I got to grow up on the Pistons.
Oh man, I grew up on the tail end of Grant Hill. And then when I was like 12, 13, they won the championship in like 04. So that was kind of cool to experience, like, being fifth, sixth grade of them winning a championship. And then I realized, yeah, that was special because then I had to go through like the Andre Drummond years and the Greg Monroe years and like the tail end of the Joe Dumars era was just like so bad.
Yeah, it was not very good.
Yeah. Like, one of my buddies was like, you remember when we drafted Peyton Siva after he got that bullshit block against Michigan? I was like, yeah, don't even piss me off today.
Siva and Drummond were very close. I remember that.
Yeah, for sure. But I appreciate you coming on, man. I know it was kind of like last minute, but I want to give you the floor again to plug and promote yourself for the people that are watching right now.
Right. You guys can follow me over on Twitter at Khahil. You can find the podcast Locked On Pistons, whatever podcast platform, and on YouTube at Locked On Pistons. You can find my Substack where I have daily content for you guys during the season, whether it be rim breakdowns or film breakdowns. You guys can find that at khahil.substack.com or the Piston Kudos. And the Playback room will be starting up when the season starts back up for a live Piston watch party. So you guys can find that Watch Pistons over on Playback. But appreciate you having me on, man. It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. Definitely have to do it again sometime soon. But if you guys do want to follow Koo and all his work, all the links are live in the description. So just click on the link and it'll take it to Locked On Pistons, his Twitter, Substack, the Playback room. Appreciate all 400 of you guys being in here with us on a Friday night, and it's like Labor Day weekend. You guys are sickos. Love it. See you guys next week. Take care. Peace.